I was 25 when I realized that I didn't even know what it meant to be sad. I just was living my life high, happy, doing things, and everybody just looked at me and thought, why is this guy always happy? But I hit rock bottom at some point in my life, and that was when I realized that sadness was actually real. I mean, when people were saying they're sad, I didn't know what they actually were feeling. So I started not fine because people never were comfortable about speaking about how they really felt. They just kept it away. So I want to tell you my story, take you through my journey so that you can have a glimpse of what not fine is about. Because some people think that not fine is about not being fine. But not fine is not about not being fine. Not fine is about embracing how we feel and working towards being fine. So that's the end goal. So let's start. I'll start from my childhood. When I was a child, I think I had the ideal life of a child, a very stable nuclear family. My dad was very intentional. I think that's the person I'm going to use as the anchor for this conversation. My dad was very intentional. He was the kind of father that knew all of his kids differently, uniquely, and he handled us like that. So life went on. He was the kind of person that he would do my assignments with me, challenge me, draw with me. We just used to have fun together. All of a sudden, on the 28th of November 2008, a crisis happened. My dad was killed. My house was burned. Life just became not fine. Everything was just upside down. I was confused. I remember when I was crying when I later found out that my dad had died. Because before I found out, I told everybody that don't worry, daddy went to get the soldiers. He's going to come and save us. But when I found out that he was unalived, it was like my hero was gone and my life was shattered. I cried and I said, who will do my assignments with me? I mean, this is not because my mom is irresponsible. It's because my mom was always focused on her business and my dad was the guy that was doing the, you know. So that was when my life kind of started. I don't know if that's a good way to put it, but I went into, I'm not going to give details of this particular part of my story now. I'll just gloss over everything. So I went into a phase of my life where I had to mask how I felt. And me saying I was masking how I felt is in hindsight. I didn't know what I was doing at that point. So when I got into secondary school, I was the clown of the class. I was always happy, always hyper, always stroking people. And the interesting thing was that one person was always the scapegoat. I mean, I'll just pick somebody and stroke the person, everybody laughs, and it made me feel happy. I just found a form of joy in making other people happy, even though it was at the detriment of a few people. So that was just how life was for me through secondary school. I was not really serious anymore with my academics because the person that was checkmating me on that aspect of my life was no more alive. That was my dad. He'll be the one to say, oh, if you come this position, I'll buy you this. If you do this, I'll give you this. And that made me to be really active when I was in primary school. But in secondary school, there was nobody to do that for me. So I was just on my own, making people laugh and doing my thing. Then after secondary school came the Lagos part of my life when I had to leave home, that's Jos, and travel to be with my uncle in Lagos because My uncle, which is my daddy. I know if he hears me call him my uncle here, he'll be wondering why is this boy calling me. So my daddy, my new daddy, I had to move to Lagos to be with him because he felt like I needed a male figure in my life to train me. But that was quite another dark moment of my life because you know how you're living with your uncle and he believes that he's your daddy, so he treats you like you are his son, but you are not able to respond like a son. So I had that chaos of, oh boy, if he was my dad, there was a way I would have handled this situation, but this is my dad's elder brother, so I have to respect him as my dad's elder brother. We could not have certain conversation. Life was tough for me from moving from a phlegmatic state to a choleric state like Lagos. It was just crazy. I had to adapt. And, I was with my auntie at that point. That's his wife. I think she was also going through her own phase of life. That year also, I did not get admission into secondary school, into university. So I had to stay a year at home. So that gave me more time to be able to bond with my auntie. I think she was depressed at that point, in hindsight, because I always went to work with her. You remember I was not in school, so I was at home. I always went to work with her. Wait, let me rewind and tell you something very interesting. I did SS3 twice. A lot of people don't know about this, but when I wrote WAEC, I think I had a good result. Looking backwards, I had like 5 B's, 2 A's, and one C and 1D. That was my math. So I had to rewrite maths again. I wrote in my NECO, I still had a D7. I wrote GCE, I still had a D7, and I felt like, the world was against me. So my uncle, who I was living with at the time, said I needed to go back to SS3 to sort this thing out. That was a dark moment in my life, man. But one of the things that I've seen, which is what is bringing not fine out of me, is my ability to adapt through situation. I'm able to find meaning in my situation and, walk through it as with that meaning as my anchor. So I did SS3 twice. I was with people that were respecting me and all that, and I just knew what I wanted to get. So fast forward to when I was with my auntie at home, we're doing things together, and because of the time we had to spend together, she told me a lot and I saw a lot. Even though I did not understand the a lot that I was seeing, looking backwards, I can tell that she was not fine. And if she was still probably alive now, I feel like I would have been able to handle things better with her. And she's the core reason why I do not fine. I mean, not fine is dedicated to her, my mama. I may be very emotional. And one of the ways I try to hide my emotions is by laughing. So when I laugh, just know that I may be crying inside. So being with my auntie was when I related with depression, and at some point we lost her, and that crippled me a lot because I felt like she was a replacement somewhat of my dad in my life, and she went away. I think how that affected me internally was that I felt like God was taking everybody I loved away from me, which made me to try to protect people by not letting them into my space. I don't know if that makes sense, but I just felt like if I love you, you will die. So I tried to not love even the people that were around me. I tried to just give them space. So when I returned back to school, I had a friend that really wanted to be in my space. But I always told her that, oh boy, just stay because I don't want you to die. But she was caring enough to like want to know what's up and help me walk through this thing. And you know, one thing I've learned in life is that if you are there enough, if you keep knocking enough, the door is going to be opened. So that's how we became friends. We're friends for a long time throughout university. She was my close G. People even thought we were dating at some point until we actually dated, and we had to break up. Up till now, I can't really explain our breakup. It was quite messy. I would just say that it was two young adults that had not figured out themselves properly. Trauma bonding that hit a wall because our relationship was really good. It wasn't toxic, but we still hit a wall. That was when I hit rock bottom because that was the first person that left me that was still alive. I mean, I had planned my life and she was in the center of everything. So when we had to break up, my whole life crashed. I can almost say I lost my identity, but I don't think I did. I think that was the case that she was kind of struggling with because we're together for a long time. But my situation was like a crash of something I had built. That's when I hit rock bottom. And I started writing poems. I started writing out how I felt. I started talking to people. I remember I'll call my friends and say, oh boy, have you ever been heartbroken? When they say yes, I'm like, how did you go through this? How are you guys able to go through this? You mean you felt like this and you never spoke about it? I realized that people actually feel pain, but they don't talk about it. They just wing it. And I was like, Omo, me, I'm going to talk about this thing. So I told you earlier that I started writing poems, and at some point I was like, okay, I'll do a monologue with these poems. I'll put it out as monologues. So I did that. As I realized that as I kept writing those things, the process was happening within me and I was healing. So the next year after my breakup, I put out those monologues, about 4-part monologues, and the feedback I got was amazing. People were saying things like, how are you able to know how we feel? How are you able to articulate how I felt? And I didn't even know I felt this way. Then I realized that there was actually something in this thing, and there was no way I could go back anymore. I knew that I could help people embrace how they felt, not just embracing it to stay where they are, but embracing it to look for a way forward. I knew that if I could survive not dying, because when that breakup happened, I thought I was going to die. It was a breakup, a breakdown, then a wake up. Because after that breakup, I hit rock bottom and it was a dark place in my life. My blood pressure was high. I could not relate with anybody. I was dying. But when I went through the process of healing, when I became more intentional, when I was like, okay, we need to pick up yourself, Gabriel, and go through this thing, that was when I realized that when you ask people, how are you? They usually are quick to say, I'm fine, even if they don't want to say, I'm fine. And one of those nights, I was lying down in my pains and I asked myself, Gabriel, how are you? Then I told myself, I'm not fine. I quickly woke up, got up, and wrote not fine on a book. Then I called my friends. I'm like, I have an idea. The idea is not fine, where people just embrace how they feel and work towards being fine. And anybody I spoke about this idea to, I could see their eyes literally lit up as they say, this is a brilliant idea. But that's not the only thing that's held me through the times. When I started doing this little by little, I've gotten feedback from people, I've seen results from people, and I just can't stop. So I decided to start a podcast. And this is the first episode of this podcast. I'm giving you a broad overview of my story so that you will know where I'm coming from and where I'm going to. When you hear not fine, it's not about remaining in the dark place. It's not about staying in the hole. It's not about being cynical or not hoping for the best. It's about embracing pain and making beauty out of it. It's about aiming upwards. It's about nation building from the individual. It's about you. It's about starting from what you can control. I hope everything I've said makes sense to you. I hope you can resonate with what I've said. This is the pilot edition of the Not Fine podcast, and I'm glad you're able to watch to the end. If you can subscribe, like, ask for however you can support, I'll be glad. Thank you very much for watching this. Take care of your mind, guys. See you in the next episode.